Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel for our first match reaction for Newcastle's first Champions League game in 20 years. I do apologise for that very long intro there. It's supposed to play once, we played it 3 times, I think, but we're here. And Scott, let's just jump straight into it, mate. What an occasion we have just experienced.
I'm still a bit shocked it's happened. I'm still, just still soaking it in. All day today, just online, just been absolutely mint watching people, in Milan, not Madrid, in Milan. Just having a good time and seem to be obviously, today started with that awful news, and we'll not get too much into that, but hope the guy gets better. Eddie, I think he was called. But the rest of the days just seemed like a massive party atmosphere. They took it to the San Siro, and you know what? The players have put in a hell of a shift, and it's all we ask for. It's all that we ask for.
So we said before we started and pressed the live button there, Scott, that both of us feel mentally drained by watching that one. We feel exhausted. God knows how the players are feeling because they've put in one hell of a shift. They really have done tonight.
Yeah, I feel like I've burned 10,000 calories sat on my sofa because my heart's been going so fast for the last 90 minutes or so. It's just nice to be in the competition. It's nice to play European football. We would have took whatever competition that we ended up in last season, and we just happen to be in the best competition out of the 3, and we've got the best group out of the lot. A lot of people have written us off before we even started because of the group. And we've proved tonight that, yes, maybe the performance wasn't, to our standards and to our level, but even so, we still came away with a point. There's not much more you can really ask for. If you give it 100%, you get a point. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think you're right, Scott. I think the most important thing to get started with this Champions League campaign is to not embarrass ourselves. And we did fall from that tonight. Yeah. We're held by our own there, and not in regards to for it to being a game which was back and forwards, because it was far from it most of the game. And I don't think anybody in disagreement with that one. But it's a clean sheet on the first point of trying at the San Siro, and you can't grumble with that. You really can't. I want to jump back just before kickoff, like you said, the fanfare going into this game and seeing the videos online of all the lads and lasses over there has been absolutely fantastic. It's made me feel unbelievably jealous. I can't lie about that. It's probably the similar feeling people are having when everybody's down Wembley, just 10 times more, being obviously in a European city there. But let's jump in straight at the game as well. And the lineup, a couple of shocks in there. I wasn't expecting Murphy to be starting.
I don't think anybody was, to be honest. You wouldn't have been, I don't think, first on many people's names that they put down. It was the 3 changes, I think. You had Murphy, and then Tonali came back in, and it was Isak back in for Wilson. So, not wholesale changes. I don't think we were expecting that. I think they came at the weekend, in the league game, and then the players that kind of missed out were on the bench. You kind of knew we're going to.
There's going to be some rotation.
We're going to start today, but Murphy was probably the biggest shock of the lot because everyone thought it would be Almiron, or people thought he might have even stuck with Bonds and Gordon because it kind of worked okay at the weekend, that partnership. But Murphy got his chance to step up the plate, and I mean, you could see when he's lining
smile,
up.
Scott, did you see his smile?
I could see his tears, like he was almost welling up. You could tell. I was trying to see through my tears as well because I was welling up a little bit. Big occasion. I mean, he put in a hell of a shift and a great performance as well. I mean, who would have thought a season and a half ago that you would have said Jacob Murphy is in the starting 11 for a Champions League side, not just Newcastle, just any Champions League side? I don't think many people would have, if you offered them a bet, they wouldn't have took you on that. So, it's proven how far he's come. It's proven, what Eddie Howe's getting out of this player. And, he's a very confident, driven player when it comes to performances, and his confidence is sky high. And that's just going to, put a rocket under that and make it even higher.
Yeah. I think what we'll have to look at is because from a final third point of view, it wasn't a great game from Newcastle. I don't think anybody can argue that. Very sloppy at times. What I want to highlight is just how well that defense done. And I know there was 25 or something like that shots at goal. I think there was 9 or 10 on target. But defensively, as in every man behind the ball to defend in those situations, was next level. Everybody was putting the neck on the line there, and I think Kieran Trippier was absolutely fantastic today. He really was. He showed the sort of pedigree of player he is, and this is why he's going to be such a pinnacle player in our Champions League campaign.
Absolutely, and it wasn't just for parts of the game. It was throughout the 90 minutes and right at the very end where he made that he made that challenge where I think he tackles a player and manages to continue sliding and keep the ball in play, and then keep going. But from our side of view, there was we struggled to keep hold of the ball, and I felt we were a little bit wasteful with the ball at times where we could have potentially either played it sideways or played it backwards. We were looking for that killer pass a little bit too often, especially near the end where you could tell the players were they were blowing. And I think it was Elliot Anderson right near the end tried to play Wilson through, and even Glenn Hoddle was just like, you don't do that. Like you try, you want to keep the ball. You want to just ease off the little pressure that we were getting, because although Milan, they were attacking us quite frequently, we were finding it quite hard to break us down in times, and when they did, every shot was I don't want to say right at the keeper, because that puts a little bit of a shadow on Nick Pope's performance, because in my opinion you've got to be in the position to make the save. It's not there's no two ways about that. So they just couldn't finish. They just kept hitting it down the throat of us, and we were lapping that up. I don't think there was any real chances that they had where I thought that's a good, that's not a good save, but that's a save that Nick Pope's been forced to make. They were all
I think there was one you put out for a corner. I think there was one he put out for a corner, and to be fair, there was a couple of absolute rockets hit from outside the box, which he's got to do well to not parry those in front of him and clear them away from obviously a danger area in front of him. But like I said, I think a lot of the shots were down his throat. But like you mentioned, he has to be in those positions. He still has to make those saves. You would expect him to make a lot of these saves, of course he would, but you can't take it away from him that it was a decent goalkeeping performance from him, especially when, like I said earlier, 20 odd shots, 9 shots on target for Milan. He's got to do his job at the end of the day. What I want to mention is not necessarily bad performances, but I think there's a couple of standout moments in the game where we should be doing a lot better. I think Isak, for no fault of his own in the first half, he had to come looking for the ball a lot of the times. Then I think the second half, when he's moved on the left-hand side, he lost the ball a lot. He lost the ball, and whether or not he was just running on empty at that point, and maybe Eddie Howe should have made that change and put Barnes on the left-hand side a lot earlier. That's a different question. I think Dan Burn, he had a 10-15 minute period where he struggled just before the end of the first half as well, where everything he touched, he put out a play as well. But these are sort of moments where AC Milan had to capitalize on, and they didn't do it, and far from it. And I think as the game went on, you're thinking a point's going to be a fantastic result. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing with Isak, when he moved out to the right, I think it was Gordon he replaced, because he brought Miggy on at the same time. The bad point for me for Isak in that position was he was leaving Dan Burn exposed, and they were exploiting that quite a lot. So it was one of those things where had there been a player on like Harvey Barnes or someone with and I think it wasn't anything I don't think it was Isak's unwillingness. I just don't think he had the energy to do it at that point. You could see him taking the energy gels and the energy bars when the ball was going out to play off it. So you just got to think, well, yeah, the performance maybe wasn't what we know we're capable of, but at the end of the day, when we leave this competition, no one's going to care about the performance. All they're going to care about is the point. And the point's all that really matters when it's all done with. Had it been a really bad performance and we got beat 6-7-0 or whatever, then you start looking, okay, what's went wrong? The fact of the matter is we've held our own, AC Milan, they're no slouches. They were semi-finalists in this competition last season. We've given them as good as anything, and we're I think at St James's Park we could probably give them a much better game.
No, I agree with you. Of course I do, mate. I think the initial point there, Ian's mentioned it there, it's not the performance which was crucial tonight. Far from it. It was basically getting off the mark and getting a point, and that's exactly what we've done. And yes, certain areas of the field could have been more competitive. Of course, it could have been. Okay, let's remember, it's such a competitive competition which we are in right now, and any sort of point is a good point for us. It really is. It's the first Champions League campaign for 20 years. Like, what are people expecting? Are people expecting us to turn up at the San Siro and win 3-4-5-0? Of course not. Of course not. Milan had a point to prove after the 5-1 defeat in the derby as well. So we're going against that beast as well. It's just, I don't understand how people are thinking, oh, it's such a bad performance. We should be doing better than that. I get it to a certain degree, but we've got a point. Look at the positive. We've got a point out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Milan had to bring in Zlatan Ibrahimovic to kind of, kick their asses before the game to have a word with them. You don't do that if there's nothing going wrong behind the scenes. Milan have started very, very well, beat Roma. I think they beat Fiorentina as well, and they won another one of the games. This game at the weekend, people expect when a team loses 5-1 that, they're down and out and they're going to just continue to lose, when the reality is you normally, for a team like Milan, you get a reaction and they come out all guns blazing because they're there to prove a point, and that's kind of what they try to do tonight. Their biggest problem was they couldn't finish their dinner. They just couldn't finish.
What I do want to mention as well is that, what noise did you make when we absolutely smashed that shot at the end?
Do you remember Gary Neville?
Yeah, that scream.
I was on Gary Neville levels when I think it was one of the Man U games where he goes unbelievable. Yeah, I was. Yeah, that shot from Longstaff at the end. I mean, it was their second choice keeper, maybe it's even their third choice keeper. I don't even know. I think they've just signed him. I think it was his debut. That's the only criticism I'd really have after he came on, is that we just couldn't get the ball upfield to test him enough. And then when we actually did test him, it was Longstaff, I think, at the edge of the box who hits the ball, and there's not much more you can do other than put it a little bit further in the corner. But again, keep us in the right position to make the save.
Yeah, anywhere else in that's back of the net, isn't it?
Anywhere else, and this live isn't happening with me because I'm running down the street, swimming in the canals. So yeah, it. But again, it's all ifs and buts. At the end of the day, like I've said before, the point is the only thing that people will remember in even a week's time. That's the only thing that really matters, is the fact that we've got a point on the board where a lot of people thought, do you know what? You're not going to get a single point. You're not going to get a single win. It's going to be 0-0 and 6 when it comes to your performances. We've already proved a lot of the doubters wrong just by getting the point on the board and the draw. And there's not a lot of teams in this competition will go to the San Siro and pick up any points, And, as Mark said in our group chat, we're still undefeated in the San Siro now.
I think it's a great shout there by Emily. I'll put the comment on screen that says, given our current form, a point was best case scenario. We held our own and have a point on the board on our first Champions League game in 20 years. I'm buzzing. I'm exactly the same. Nobody can deny that it's been a difficult start for Newcastle. We just haven't clicked to the standards what we saw last season. So I'm honestly, mate, I know people will grumble. People will expect better. And I can't grumble at a point. I really can't. I'm proud of the shift that the lads have put in there tonight. I really am. It was no easy task to go there and get any sort of point, but we've done it, and I think they can hold their heads up high. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where we could have absolutely dominated them and played, to our best ability, and they win 1-0. And then it would have been, we didn't take our chances, but the performance was there. Like, you can't have it both ways. You've got to look at the result. And at the end of the day, the result is all that really matters. And I'll keep beating that drum. But to me, that is all that matters, because if we win 2 games in this competition and we've got a good chance of doing that, that 1 point could be the point that sends us either into 3rd or 2nd place, which continues this European run.
Mm.
So, I'll take it every day of the week in a little draw against Milan.
We're not going to go on too long for those that are watching live because it is getting late tonight. Obviously, we've got things to do. One more incident which I want to mention, Scott, is the Sean Longstaff chance early on in the game where he has a bit of a push in his back and he hits the deck. What's your thoughts on that?
I think I don't want to sound too harsh here, but it might come across really harsh. I don't think Sean Longstaff is the type of player that can win that sort of challenge and win that sort of penalty. He's just a half second or a quarter second too slow in his reaction to get anything from that. And by the time he's processed it and went down, he's already been figured out by the referee.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, he's still got the ball. He's still in the box. He needs to get the shot away. He needs to stay on his feet and he needs to get the shot away. It's one of those where, like I said,
tried his luck, didn't he? Tried his luck.
He definitely did, and I think maybe it's in the Premier League you might get away with that, and that could be his inexperience in European competition with these referees. They don't give that sort of foul typically, or if they do, it has to be a really bad shove or a blatant, like it's actually physically moved you off the ball, not the way you went down. It was so early on in the game, though. We didn't know what was going to come and how little chances we had. You rue it now because you think, well, that could have been our first shot on target, and that could have set the ball rolling. That could, who knows what could have even went in. You never know. But yeah, I think at the time, I think he was in two minds what to do, and by the time he'd made the decision, it was just too late.
Okay, man of the match. Who are you picking?
I mean, I would say Nick Pope for the saves, but for an outfield player, you've got to give it to Kieran Trippier.
Yeah,
he's just 90 minutes of just professionalism, experience.
Read the game very well.
He reads the game. Well, he does that every week. I mean, Kieran Trippier reads the game outstanding. That's what he's here for. But yeah, I mean, I think you could throw a quote over both of them, Nick Pope and Kieran Trippier, and give them both the award. But I think for that little bit at the end where Trippier, I say, he makes the challenge, he keeps the ball in play, and then he gets the ball field. That just nudges it for me to give it to Kieran Trippier for man of the match.
Yeah, like you said, though, I don't think it can look much past Nick Pope as well. And I know I said earlier on that a lot of those shots were down his throat, but he still has to do a job at the end of the day. And come on, it's a clean sheet that Nick Pope's had.
Do you know what? His distribution was fairly decent tonight as well. We were looking to play it out from the back. He wasn't playing that many like long balls hit and hold up the top. They were letting him play out the back as well. It's almost like Milan were kind of like, okay, well, we want you to play out the back so we can, press you. But they didn't. They weren't pressing us very much, in terms of like making us make mistakes. I just wish the other end of the pitch, maybe we'd press them a little bit more than what we're
used
to
click, doesn't it, Scott? Need to click because it hasn't done some so far this season, really. Apart from the Villa game, you could argue, but
yeah,
since then,
I don't know if it's just because there's so many games in quick succession that Eddie Howe's just like, look, we cannot keep the momentum or keep the intensity that we had last season because you're going to burn out, by mid-November, or if it's just a case like you say, like that, some of the players are still a little bit exhausted off last season, and they're just thinking, I can't do this again. I can't have 90 minutes of constant pressing. Like, well, maybe not 90 minutes, but can't do this game after game, week after week. I don't think we have the quality of squad yet to maintain what Eddie Howe wants, and I think that'll come. I think give it 2 or 3 more windows, and we will be there where we'll play, like we played against Spurs, like we played against Villa, week in, week out, and that'll happen. But yeah, I just think something's not quite right, and I don't know if it's just a change of personnel that you wouldn't expect is needed. Maybe he's in the middle, or maybe he's even on the wing. Give some of the youngsters a try. Who knows? I do want to say also for Elliot Anderson, I think that's a great achievement for him to come on in his first Champions League game. He didn't do too badly, but I think his inexperience, like I said before, when he tried to play that pass through to Gordon when we just needed to keep hold of the ball, that's just because he's young. He doesn't have that experience in the game to do that yet.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. I think, like I said, I don't think we can really look at anybody and and say you didn't pull your weight tonight, because it was a different game to what we're used to recently under Eddie Howe.
Mm-hmm.
It is a different game. It was very Rafa-esque, that performance, where it's basically sit back and we'll take with chances when they come, and that's what we're trying to do. But the basically when we're getting in possession going forward, it was a bit sloppy, giving the ball away far too easily, really were, in that final third, and balls from the midfield which were just going to absolutely nobody. They were overhit, they were underhit, they were knocked out of possession. It was just very frustrating at times, but at the end of the day, a great defensive performance and a point. That's what matters right now. That is what matters. And obviously, we've got a game coming up on Saturday. I think it is a Saturday or Sunday. Saturday, I can't remember. Saturday, maybe.
It's
Sunday.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Sunday, yeah.
Who knows when it is? I think it's Sunday.
It's early morning for me because I'm in New York, so I'll be watching it at 9 o'clock in a pub somewhere. But
we've got another game coming up in quick succession. Then we've got the Man City in the cup game as well. So it's honestly, it's going to be a tough one. It really is. But this is what we're signed up for. This is why we wanted to be in these competitions. It really is. And let us know what your thoughts are as well, what your overall opinion was on that game. If you agree with us, if you think we've completely missed something out of the game, if you're feeling as we're being too harsh on individuals, or if you're feeling that we're giving the team too much credit for that result as well, just let us know. Just be nice about it. That's it. Just be nice about it. That's all I ask. Scott, tell them what else we've got coming up.
I don't know because I'm away now. Obviously, there'll be a match preview for the Sheffield United game coming up with Matty, Darrell, and Andy, and probably somebody else. Maybe it's you. I don't know. That would be what else is coming up? Canny Chatter? No, it won't be. We know Canny Chatter. I'm not here. No. Always smiling faces, obviously. Yeah,
we'll have the usual stuff. Have match previews, match reactions, always smiling faces podcast. If people miss Scott start his FIFA videos again this morning, that went out just previewing the game which we just witnessed as well. But
didn't
plenty more. We didn't. Plenty more stuff to come from ourselves. If you are watching this live, just like the video. If you're watching it back, like the video as well. Become a subscriber. It costs you absolutely nothing to do that. If you want to give a little bit back and get early access to videos, get extra videos, become a member. It does cost just $2.99 a month to do that, and you get access to that all-important Telegram group as well, which is just a community for Newcastle United fans where we're chatting all day, every day of the week. Thanks, Scott. It's been a pleasure. It's a nice little start to a Champions League campaign. And let's, fingers crossed, the next one is 3 points.
I need to lie down after that game, like me heart's still pounding.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Bye, everyone. Bye.